Hi folks, Ken Grandison here with another video that I make every now and then showing how I'm using ChatGPT to save myself time with various programming tasks. So today what I'm going to be doing is seeing if ChatGPT can help me update my database catalog of YouTube videos from a pull perspective, i.e., I want my database tables that have my video data to reflect exactly what is in my YouTube channel. So let me give you some context, and I'm going to show you some of the very specific things that I'm making sure that I provide ChatGPT so that it does the best job at helping save me time. So, big picture. This is my EdTech platform, Diversity Schoolhouse, which enables educators to teach Black history and ethnic studies using our video collection. So this is our Black history series that we say goes from 1619 to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And what we do is we add, for teachers, writing prompts, well, that's really for the students, talking points for teachers, quizzes, and etc. So we have most of our videos narrated via AI, and we're working through them to do English and Spanish. So I'm going to give you a quick sample of the Montgomery bus boycott video voiceover in English and Spanish.
BlackFacts.com presents educational series, Black History in America. December 1955, Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott.
That's the English version, the ES or Spanish version.
BlackFacts.com presenta una serie educativa. Historia negra en América. Diciembre de 1955. Rosa Parks y el boicot a los autobuses de Montgomery.
So, each one of these are two separate videos in YouTube that have separate video keys, separate database records. But from an applications perspective, logically, they're the same episode on Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott. So from an application perspective, we've got playlists or series, and we've got episodes. And the videos there may be multiple videos, because we're going to do more languages, that are the same episode. So back in the database, what this looks like, actually, I'm going to show you this diagram first. And I'm using Microsoft SQL Server. I've been doing stuff on the Microsoft stack for 30 years. So, I tend to be very, very fluent and efficient in the Microsoft tool set. You'll see I'm using Visual Studio 2022 Preview Edition community version when I show you the code. But it's important to not worry about things like languages and stuff like that, because the principles are the same no matter what language you're working on. So anyway, these are most of the tables, not all, where playlists, and videos that are in my YouTube schema are going to be mirror images, except for a unique ID field that's generated, mirror images of the data that's in YouTube. Now, I'm on version 3 or 4 of my schema. First version, I had started with a video table that was a combination of some of the YouTube data as well as the metadata that we generate, like activities, the script, the quiz, et cetera, et cetera. I ended up, at this point at least, I am separating the YouTube data and our application metadata. And my objective is to be able to manage the updates of these videos as well as adding additional languages by just updating the data in tables like YouTube.videos, episode languages, episode playlists. So I've created a smaller, simpler database diagram. And if your database does not have diagramming capabilities, I do the same thing with just like script create, to clipboard to copy the database schema to the clipboard. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a snapshot of these tables and I'm going to drop that into ChatGPT as an image. And that's why I made sure I have the column names, etc., because I want to give ChatGPT enough information about the tables, and it'll be able to figure out the relationships so that I can tell it to manage, keep the relations and relational integrity. So anyway, I'm going to copy diagram the clipboard, and then I'm going to go into Paint Shop Pro, which I sometimes call poor man's Photoshop. I have Photoshop, but I've been using this for close to 20 years. It's simple, et cetera, et cetera. And also it supports Windows meta files. I don't know why SQL Server copies it as a Windows meta file instead of a raster image, like a JPEG, PNG, whatever. But once I paste it and copy it again, now it is a raster image that I'm going to go and paste into a new ChatGPT window. So there's my picture waiting for further instructions. So the further instructions are going to come from me giving some code as well as some verbal instructions. So what do we have here? This is a test-driven development test using the Gherkin test language and the SpecFlow plugin. Gherkin, the TDD language, is available with a variety of programming languages. And again, staying away from languages and focusing on principle. The principle here is to use human language about what I want to do. So we want to pull it. Background is sort of common functionality that's going to be in all my tests. And when I say all my tests, let me show you a previous version where I've got a bunch of tests. And I'm going to actually execute these through the test runner where, I have these different tests, and I can run each test by itself, blah, 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 blah. So this is Visual Studio stuff. But Gherkin itself is, is available for a bunch of languages and platforms. From a work environment situation or perspective, the idea here would be to have the developers be able to work with management to talk about features and what the system is supposed to do rather than talking about code. And this nifty little plugin that I have installed that will define, it's going to say all the steps are defined already, but if they weren't, it would give me the ability to create a file or copy and paste new function stubs that correspond, given I have a YouTube channel ID. So there's a one-to-one correspondence between these different steps and the function stubs. And as a developer, it makes your life really easy because now if your test makes sense, where I want to pull a list of the videos in the selected channel, when I get the list and I call the pull videos method, then the list of videos should match from YouTube should match what's in the database. It's a very high level description of what I want to do. And I could have that conversation with a manager or whatever, business owner, whatever. As a developer, it's my job to translate this to code. And, because of this one-to-one correspondence between things, it's easy. So anyway, where I left things before I started the video was I want to call the pull videos method of the video API. So I already have code. I got a lot of projects in here. And, so I've got a class I call my YouTube API that, that goes and talks to the Google's YouTube data API and pulls my videos, blah, 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 blah. I've got API keys, but that's not what this is about. This is just trying to show you how I end up using ChatGPT to help me out. And I actually use ChatGPT in a few different ways. I'm going to do most of my work through the web interface that is over here, but I have the GitHub Co-Pilot and GitHub Co-Pilot chat, which I don't really find as helpful as the inline GitHub Co-Pilot, which does a great job of both making suggestions and anticipating what I'm going to do. So the way that I recommend you make the best of GitHub Copilot is comment your code and tell it what you want to do. And what you will see is that it will do a really good job of suggesting code that will do what you told it you want to do. So convert the list of YouTube videos to a list of video objects. So that's what this thing does. Then the next step is going to be that I want to call the pull videos method of the video API. Now, when I hit enter, insert the list of videos into the database. That isn't exactly what I wanted to do, but that's okay. I'm going to say, call, see, that's all I typed, and it guessed, oh, I really want to call the pull videos method of the video API, which does not exist. I'm going to hit the tab key to accept the suggestion. And when I hit enter, GitHub Copilot is going to make a suggestion about what it thinks I want to do, the code that I want to execute next. So it says, await video API, etc. So now video API doesn't really exist. I kind of misled it because I'm really going to put this in my database client because I have data that I've pulled in _database videos. I also, the YouTube videos is actually a list of an in-memory list of videos that came from YouTube, but they're in the same format as I'm storing them in the database. So I kind of misled GitHub Copilot by saying video API, but it's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit tab to accept this. Then I'm going to give it a couple more hints, like saying var success equals. So that implies that this pull videos async is going to return a Boolean. And I'm actually going to copy database client and paste that over here and you see it's going red because that method doesn't exist, but it's okay. Because I'm then going to right-click, not right-click, and hover and accept this hint to say, generate the method for me. So this is now a Visual Studio Intellisense feature that it says, oh, cannot assign void to an implicitly typed variable. So it wasn't smart enough to figure out that I wanted to make that Boolean. Not perfect. So I need to say task of bool. And if I go back to this one reference, yeah, so the red squiggly is gone from that, but I haven't implemented this function yet. Then, because I'm in a test project, I want to use assertions to make sure that my steps go okay. So it may or may not be bright enough to figure out that I'm going to want to do assert, true success. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there you go. So it figured out what I was going to do, because I made a point of giving the AI enough information to make an educated guess, by making sure that Because you know what, as I'm looking at it, if I had typed this as a Boolean success, then it would have known it was a Boolean. It did not know it was a Boolean until I went to this new method and gave it a return value. So that's why it said implicitly typed variable, because I was using the var syntax, which leaves the data type to be determined by the return value of my method. So again, no diss on ChatGPT or GitHub Co-Pilot. I hadn't given it enough information to make a good guess yet. So anyway, I'm going to right click and go to definition of this. And here's where I want ChatGPT to help me out. I want it to write the method that's going to pull my videos and synchronize things. So here's what I did before was this is a method that just grabs all the data from the database. That's why I populate my, list of database of videos. And which also reminds me, I've got a list of database videos, but back in my method here, I actually need to, because I've converted the list of YouTube videos to database videos, I need to, and excuse me, sorry, I'm jumping around here, but this is real time. This is not rehearsed, so it is what it is. This variable is my list of videos that already exist in my database. So what I actually want this method to do is, given the list of videos in the database, to take the list of videos from YouTube and update the database. So I actually need these two parameters, and this little Intellisense says add parameter to this method. So it just went and added a parameter for me. I could have typed it, but I'm lazy. So I'm going to go to definition now. And now, if you didn't notice it before, just rewind and you'll see. Now it has two parameters instead of just one. So what I want, what they called it, YouTube videos 1. No worries. I'm going to change the name of this parameter to database videos and then YouTube videos. Okay. So the existence of this method, I'm going to give ChatGPT this class so that it can use this method that queries the database, the table for videos, and populated it to see how I'm using my custom database wrapper, log SQL query, and this method query async. It takes a SQL string. If I did not give it that kind of hint, it would generate code using the .NET Microsoft SQL client code, which I haven't used in many years because I use other things, the Dapper lightweight ORM. And then I have my own custom database classes that enable me to have a one-liner, whether it's, I've got other overloads that you pass it an object and the object properties match stored procedure parameters, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I'm going to give ChatGPT the following information. I'm going to give it the Gherkin code. I'm going to give it this class, and I'm going to give it some written instructions. So let me copy the Gherkin code. And I'm on a Windows machine, so I'm going to hit Windows key H, which is the speech recognition, because my default way that I interact with ChatGPT is I talk to it, whether I'm on my computer or my phone. So I'm going to tell it exactly what I want it to do, and then I'm going to give it a shot and see how good it does. Hi, I would like you to write a method for me that will help me synchronize an existing database table of videos that I have on YouTube with a list of videos that I've just pulled from my YouTube channel. This is a pull operation similar to what's used in Git. So I want to overwrite my local database table with the data that I'm getting from YouTube. I've given you an image of the Microsoft SQL Server 2016 schema of the YouTube.videos table and two tables that have related records. I'm giving you this information so that you can write SQL code that will correctly conform to database referential integrity in order to get the resulting table of videos synchronized with the YouTube data. One of the linking tables has to deal with playlists, and those will be synchronized in a separate operation. So for now, I just need you to delete whatever playlist video records need to be deleted and leave the others as is. With the languages table, similarly, delete anything that is not needed. And again, don't worry about adding new records. I won't manage that in a separate operation. So in addition to the image, I'm going to give you the following information. I'm going to give you a Gherkin test that this is part of to help give you context for completing the task. So here is the Gherkin test. So I'm going to paste this in now. And I don't even worry about typos and things like that. ChatGPT is really, really good at figuring this stuff out. And I'm going to switch back over to Visual Studio now, and let me get rid of these unnecessary usings. And okay, videos database client and pull videos async. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the C# code for my videos database client class. And what I need you to write for me is the code implementation for the pull videos async method. It is taking as two properties, the two input parameters, the list of videos that's already in the database and the list of videos that came from YouTube. I'm also going to give you the C# code for the videos class. So first, here is the code for the videos database client. And finally, here is the code for the videos database class. And I need to give it my video class. This is a very, very simple, POCO, plain old code object. I don't deal with the data transfer objects and all that kind of stuff. Always seem like way too much overhead for, I'm not, So anyway, these are properties that have a one-to-one match with the database columns. And then the only other thing that goes on in here is I have a public constructor. Always good idea to use a public constructor in most OOP languages. And then this is a constructor that takes a YouTube object and converts it to my data object. So I'm going to copy this stuff and we're going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to paste this in and let's see how well it does. All right. So first it's showing what I gave it. It's going to assess what I asked it to do. Delete records and related tables. Right, that are not in the YouTube list. Yep. Update existing records with data with the video IDs match. Exactly. And insert. Yep. Okay. So it was not smart enough to avoid using SQL client. See, it's using SQL connection and all this kind of stuff. Although it's using transactions and all, so this is actually probably better code than my lazy routine. And as I'm thinking about it right now, I'm tempted to say, you know what, maybe I should just use their version, because a lot could go wrong on the way here. And all right, so real quick, my query async, like I said, I've got different data methods that are intended to be one-liners, whether it's a command text that's a SQL string, or a stored procedure, etc. Why? Because 99% of my code is stateless HTTP stuff, where I don't really need persistence and all the kind of stuff that's in a lot of ORMs. So, I try to keep it real simple. Boom, this either works or it doesn't, But in this case, because this is a relatively busy thing going on, and a lot of things could go horribly wrong along the way, you know what? I am going to copy code and say, you know what, AI, you had a better idea than me. I'm going to, and let me turn on my error list. SQL connection doesn't have a, right. So I just need to add some usings. Oh, I probably don't have SQL, come on. No, it has Microsoft SQL Data Client referenced. So there's no execute async. Come on, there's gotta be. Using Dapper. Maybe Dapper adds an execute async. Look at that. Okay, Dapper is the mini ORM that I use. So I guess Dapper has an execute async buried in it. So what is this crying about? Update video SQL and SQL command to update the video, SQL command to insert. Okay, so I wasn't paying attention. It did not figure out the SQL command to update or insert a video. Yeah, the delete's real easy. It didn't figure out those. So I am going to give it, I guess it wasn't smart enough to look at the image, so that's okay. Oops. I'm going to script table as create to clipboard. And I'm going to say, hi, I noticed that you did not generate SQL insert or update scripts for me. I'm going to give you the create table script for YouTube.videos. Use this to generate the SQL strings for me and regenerate the method for me. Thanks. And hopefully you are always polite to the AI so that after they take over, they won't make you into a battery. All right, so, or wipe you out, depending on whether we go Matrix or Terminator. All right, so let's see. Sure, all righty. My buddy here. And I know this is going much longer than I expected. That happens, but it is what it is. One of the things that I find a little annoying sometimes is ChatGPT will do what it just did, where it says the previous code, where ideally I'd like to copy the whole block and just throw it in, but I'm not going to complain. It's probably saving, API tokens or whatever it uses, and it's going to let me copy this code. I'm going to end up ultimately making stored procedures out of this. I do everything with stored procedures, always have. But because I'm making this up as I go and changing it every few days, it'll be easier for me to use raw SQL first and then later on do that. So it looks like it was paying attention because new sequential ID is a relatively new SQL Server GUID generator. It's different from the new ID. According to the documentation, the difference is that if you use, basically new sequential ID has less gaps in it, which if you use a GUID or unique identifier in a clustered index, which is debatable if you should do it or not. I've gone back and forth. Sometimes I'll throw an int, identity int in there anyway, and use that. But I almost always will have a unique identifier column that's set as the row GUID for replication and, to make sure that I can always copy that data to other systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so we've got update var update SQL equals all this stuff. So I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to switch over to my code here and update video SQL equals that. Okay. Update video SQL is that. Let me see if it doesn't want to format it differently. I'm a little anal about formatting my code to make it really readable and neat and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to indent that a little bit. And let me go back and get my insert. Here is my insert. We have no errors in our error list. So if I compile, eight succeeded, et cetera, et cetera. Because this is going so long, I'm going to switch to another video before actually running the test. But before I do that, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to add some logging methods because I use lots of logging. I want to find some examples so it will understand. Okay, log warning. Okay, beautiful. This looks perfect. Thank you. One last thing before I run the test. I'm using the nlog logging framework, and I want to add logging methods to my pull YouTube videos method. I'm going to give you an example of how the log methods are called, and it's got standard log information, warning, and error. So please add logging where appropriate to the method. Mhm. It almost got it right there because it's actually logger.log information, but I'm not going to split hairs. I'll just do a search and replace because actually it's yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, throw it into a notepad, and then paste the stuff in line by line. So it's actually in a notepad here. Since I know it's log information, I'm going to say, oops, looks like my caps lock was on. And Alt A, search, place also. Just going to drag this off screen. The reason that I didn't paste it back in and say, okay, do this for me is that I've learned the hard way that sometimes when I do that, it'll forget something else. And by the time we're all done, I'm like, I could have just done it manually. Stuff is not perfect. Oh, I'm in the wrong class. Stuff is not perfect, but it's the best thing that I've ever seen for improving my productivity. So again, not going to complain. So app to open async through the log information. Just inside the try, it's throwing it there. Previous code for deleting the databases, add logs for each major step. So what the heck is it suggesting? Oh, I see. Existing, so it deletes the other stuff. I see. Sorry, that actually is supposed to go here. Processing. Actually, it kind of forgot some stuff now that I see. The code for insert and update remains the same. And when I run this, I will show you the logger and how I use the logger to have real-time logging, so I can see exactly what's happening. Anyway, so again, sorry that this went a long time. In my next video, not these tests, I'm in the videos feature, and I'm going to do no, I'm sorry, no, this is videos database feature. Oops. I got a lot of projects in this solution. videos database feature, pull videos from YouTube. So that's what I'm going to be, the test I'm actually going to be running in the next video. Hope that this was informative, and I will see you in the next video.